Roman history in the late 2nd century BC is filled with dramatic conflicts, ambitious generals, and transformative reforms that reshaped the future of one of the world's greatest empires. In this exploration, we delve into a period marked by relentless military challenges on Rome's borders, as well as internal upheavals that forever altered its political landscape. The story unfolds with Rome engaged in continuous frontier wars, even as political rivalries simmered at home. In this video, we will examine how Rome secured its territories from both external foes and internal dissent. The narrative takes us on a journey through relentless campaigns on the northern frontiers and detailed strategy in regions such as Macedonia, where even smaller battles played a crucial role in expanding Rome's influence. Later, we explore the pivotal Jugurthine War, a conflict that exposed widespread corruption within the Senate and introduced a brilliant military leader who would rise to prominence. This leader, Marius, not only challenged the old elite, but also implemented daring reforms in military organization. His innovations reshaped the army and laid the groundwork for Rome's successes. As you follow this narrative, you will discover a vivid blend of battles and political strife that changed Rome. During the Gracchus Age, while Rome's internal politics churned with conflicts between different factions, the Republic was also busy securing its frontiers through numerous foreign wars. Rome found itself entangled in relatively minor yet constant military engagements, each contributing incrementally to its vast sphere of influence. Battles were fought along the northern borders of Italy and across the rugged terrains of Macedonia, where early Republic strategies were tested against persistent tribal resistance. One of the significant military achievements from this period was the occupation of the Balearic Islands in 123 to 122 BC, an effort that ensured Rome full command of the vital sea route to Spain. This strategic victory allowed the Romans to assert dominance over Mediterranean trade routes and secure naval passageways that were essential for military logistics and commerce. In another campaign, responding to a desperate appeal from the allied city of Massalia, Rome came to the rescue against the Ligurian Salius, who threatened regions north of the French Mediterranean coastline. By subduing these tribes, the Romans effectively gained control over the crucial passage across the Maritime Alps from Italy into Gaul. The subsequent establishment of the fortress at Aquae Sextiae symbolized Rome's determination to protect its newly acquired routes and solidify its territorial gains. These conflicts were not solely about brute strength. They also showcased Rome's diplomatic acumen and strategic innovation. Lessons in alliance building, naval control, and frontier logistics emerged, further cementing Rome's reputation as a resilient and adaptable power. These wars decisively shaped Rome's future destiny. With a focus on securing the land route to Spain, Rome turned its attention to southern Gaul, a region filled with diverse tribes and formidable natural obstacles. The Roman advance into Transalpine Gaul was marked by strategic brilliance and tactical persistence. Rome encountered powerful coalitions of Gallic tribes determined to resist domination. Key among these were the Allobroges on the eastern side of the Rhone, the expansive Arverni stretching from the Loire to the Pyrenees, and the Aedui to the north. The Allobroges were one of the first hurdles, their lands acting as a natural boundary, while the Arverni, known for their military prowess, provided strong opposition with their deep-rooted traditions and coordinated resistance. In response, the Romans formed alliances with tribes like the Aedui, leveraging existing rivalries to destabilize the coalition. A decisive turning point came in 121 BC, when Roman forces under consul Fabius Maximus and proconsul Domitius clashed with the opposing tribes near the junction of the Isere and the Rhone. Their victory not only subdued the powerful Gallic tribes, but also paved the way for the creation of a new province. Roman control was consolidated through administrative and military organization, culminating in the establishment of the colony at Narbo in 118 BC. This colony, composed of Roman citizens, was a bold step beyond traditional Italian borders and demonstrated Rome's ambitions. To further secure the connection between Italy and its new province, the Romans constructed the Via Domitia, a well-planned military road that allowed for the efficient movement of troops and resources. This infrastructure helped integrate the newly conquered territories into the Roman sphere of influence, fostering cultural exchange and economic development. The expansion into Narbonese Gaul not only secured a vital trade and military route to Spain, but also symbolized Rome's growing determination to control and integrate the diverse regions beyond its original borders. In doing so, Rome laid the strategic foundations that would support its future imperial endeavors. This ambitious campaign not only expanded Rome's borders, but also fostered long-lasting cultural exchanges and economic prosperity among its diverse new subjects. It marked a new era. Following the expansion into Gaul, Rome faced one of its most challenging conflicts, the Jugurthine War. In 118 BC, the death of King Micipsa of Numidia led to a power struggle among his successors. Micipsa's two sons, Adherbal and Hiempsal, and his ambitious nephew, Jugurtha, began to quarrel over the kingdom. Jugurtha's cunning and charm enabled him to persuade the Roman Senate with generous bribes, and early commissions awarded him favorable territories. However, ambition and the thirst for absolute power drove Jugurtha to eliminate his opponents. He orchestrated the assassination of Hiempsal and forced Adherbal to flee to Rome, seeking help based on Rome's ancestral alliance with Numidia. Instead of swift intervention, Roman officials, seduced by Jugurtha's wealth, allowed him to secure nearly half of the kingdom through deception. The situation escalated dramatically when Jugurtha laid siege to Cirta in 113 BC, where many Italian settlers had taken refuge for trade and security. The fall of Cirta, including the brutal slaughter of its defenders, ignited public outrage in Rome. The citizens and business interests demanded accountability, and eventually, the Senate was forced to declare war. In response, in 111 BC, a Roman army under consul Bestia invaded Numidia, seeking to decisively weaken Jugurtha's position. Yet again, bribery and subterfuge played a role, as Jugurtha negotiated terms by feigning submission, deceiving Roman commanders. Frustration grew as two separate Roman commissions failed to secure justice. Ordered to testify in Rome under a guarantee of safety, Jugurtha instead managed to silence critical witnesses by purchasing the support of influential tribunes. His audacity escalated when, in 110 BC, he attempted an assassination on stage in Rome, targeting a rival claimant to the Numidian throne. This brazen act forced the Senate, already discredited by earlier acts of leniency, to react. The political system, weakened by corruption and self-interest, found itself incapable of enforcing accountability. By 109 BC, the Roman military suffered a humiliating defeat. A poorly coordinated Roman force was compelled to march under the yoke, a symbol of submission, until its commander capitulated to Jugurtha's terms. The disgrace of this event sent shockwaves throughout Rome, leading to calls for strict measures against corruption within the military and political spheres. In the midst of this crisis, leadership began to shift when consul Metellus handed over part of the campaign to his capable officer, Gaius Marius, who had already demonstrated his talent in previous conflicts. Marius revitalized the Roman efforts by pursuing Jugurtha with renewed zeal. His tactical acumen was evident in every battle as he methodically subjugated Numidian territories and disrupted Jugurtha's alliances. The brilliant maneuvers orchestrated by Marius, along with the decisive actions of his subordinate Lucius Cornelius Sulla, eventually isolated Jugurtha's supporters. In a final stroke of diplomacy and daring, the king's father-in-law, Bocchus of Mauritania, betrayed his son-in-law Jugurtha, handing him over to the Romans. The war concluded with Jugurtha imprisoned in Rome, where he ultimately perished under mysterious circumstances. His fate a somber reminder of the consequences of unchecked ambition. The Jugurthine War exposed the deep-seated corruption in Rome's ruling classes and set the stage for sweeping changes in military policy and political structures, signaling a shift from senatorial dominance to the rising influence of military leaders. Ultimately, the Jugurthine War reshaped Rome's military strategy and reinforced the rising power of reform-minded leaders. Marius emerged during a time when Rome was in desperate need of military rejuvenation and bold leadership. Born into an equestrian family in Arpinum, his rise was a testament to talent and perseverance over traditional aristocratic birth. Early in his career, he served with distinction under renowned commanders, quickly proving his mettle in campaigns such as the Numidian War. His experience and daring on the battlefield propelled him through successive offices, and by the time of the Jugurthine War, he had already established himself as an effective military strategist. As the old guard of the Senate showed disdain toward newcomers, Marius became a symbol of change for the common people and Roman legions alike. Recognizing the shifting dynamics of Roman society, Marius implemented sweeping reforms that would forever change the structure of the Roman army. He abandoned the strict property-based recruitment system and instead opened the ranks to volunteers, many of whom had previously been excluded due to poverty. This monumental change not only increased the number of available soldiers, but also transformed the army into a professional force, bound by loyalty not to the state alone, but to their victorious general. In doing so, Marius laid the foundations for a military culture in which personal allegiance and merit began to outweigh aristocratic lineage. Moreover, Marius restructured the organization of the legions. He increased their size to around 6,000 men and divided each legion into 10 cohorts, a reorganization that greatly improved flexibility and combat effectiveness. By modernizing equipment and refining training methods, he ensured that every soldier was well prepared for the challenges of warfare. These changes were revolutionary, transforming an archaic fighting force into a dynamic, adaptable military machine. Marius's reforms were celebrated not only for their immediate tactical benefits, but also for the enduring impact they had on Rome's military doctrine and administrative efficiency. The impact of Marius's reforms extended far beyond the battlefield. They altered the internal balance of power within the Republic, as soldiers, now more dependent on their generals' support, began to shift their allegiance away from the traditional senatorial elite. This new loyalty system empowered successful military leaders, paving the way for individuals who could leverage the support of a professional army in political contests. Although these changes ensured that Rome was better prepared to meet external threats, they also seeded long-term instability by eroding the long-standing political checks that had maintained order for centuries. In essence, while Marius saved Rome from immediate external threats through his military brilliance and innovative reforms, his legacy is double-edged. On one hand, he transformed the Roman army into a formidable professional force, enhancing combat effectiveness and strategic mobility. On the other hand, by fostering personal loyalty to generals over the state, his reforms inadvertently opened the door to future power struggles that would ultimately shake the foundations of the Republic. Thus, Marius's radical changes not only redefined military service, but also left an indelible mark on the trajectory of Roman political evolution and profoundly influenced Rome's destiny. In a dramatic shift from traditional foes, a new and terrifying threat emerged from beyond Rome's familiar borders. The invasion of the Cimbri and their allies, including the Teutons, jolt the Republic with the fear of a barbarian onslaught unlike any before. Originating from regions beyond the Rhine, the Cimbri were a fierce Germanic tribe, while the Teutons, likely linked to the Celtic Helvetii, brought with them an equally daunting reputation. Early encounters saw these tribes clash with Roman forces in the Taurici lands, where a Roman relief army was soundly defeated. The initial setbacks underscored vulnerabilities in Roman military preparedness, shaking the confidence of many. As the migrating tribes advanced, they forged an alliance that spanned across cultural and geographic boundaries. In 111 BC, their united forces crossed the Rhine into Gaul, determined to claim lands and challenge Roman supremacy. Subsequent months witnessed the Cimbri exploiting divisions among local tribes and even among Roman commanders. In 106 BC, despite a brief Roman recovery, when a consul recovered the town of Tolosa and seized its treasures, internal strife continued to hamper a unified response. The catastrophic battle at Arausio in 105 BC, where tens of thousands of Roman soldiers perished, remains one of Rome's darkest military defeats, a calamity that echoed the devastation of earlier centuries. In the face of such overwhelming danger, the renowned general Marius was called upon to reorganize and revitalize Roman defenses. He instituted crucial military reforms and trained a new generation of soldiers dedicated to protecting the Republic. These reformed legions, bolstered by renewed discipline and innovative tactics, eventually turned the tide against the marauding tribes. By triumphing over the invading forces in key engagements near Aquae Sextiae and later near Vercellae, Marius ensured that the barbarian threat was brought under control, restoring a measure of stability and confidence to a shaken Rome. These events underscored the fragility of Rome's borders and inspired a re-examination of military strategies that would later influence the entire course of Roman expansion. The legacy of the Cimbri and Teuton invasions remains a pivotal chapter in shaping Rome's enduring strength. Indeed, unforgettable. As Rome's military victories resonated with the people, internal politics began to shift dramatically. Emboldened by Marius's successes and the public's renewed confidence, the populares sought to challenge the traditional power of the senatorial elite. Two influential figures emerged in this turbulent period, Lucius Apuleius Saturninus and Caius Servilius Glaucia. Both men, known for their demagogic style, introduced radical legislative measures designed to win the support of the common citizens. Saturninus, drawing on his popularity, pushed for grain distributions at below-market rates and proposed the allocation of lands ruined by barbarian incursions. Glaucia advocated for reform measures that aimed at expanding the rights of Rome's lower classes. Their agenda, however, was not purely benevolent. The laws brought forward appealing social benefits, but also undermined the established order, challenging centuries-old traditions of governance. The electoral processes during this period became contentious, as violent tactics and mob pressure were increasingly employed to secure votes and political appointments. Marius, despite his own popularity, found himself sidelined as the internal divisions grew more pronounced. The events reached a fevered pitch when Saturninus and Glaucia, fueled by ambition, resorted to occupying the capital itself. A state of martial law was declared, forcing Marius to intervene in an attempt to restore order. Although he managed to quell the uprising, the violent struggle left an indelible mark on Roman politics, revealing the deep fractures within society. In the aftermath, the demagogues were ultimately defeated, their bloody downfall symbolizing a temporary reassertion of senatorial authority. Yet the episode exposed how popular movements could disrupt traditional structures, setting a precedent for future conflicts that would eventually alter the course of the Roman Republic. Ultimately, these internal upheavals not only reshaped political alliances, but also foreshadowed the turbulent transitions that would redefine Rome in the years to come. Indeed,